All right, so this your boy back again with another video, and I'm not in my normal spot. I'm at work, a classroom, a science lab, but I don't have a class right now, so I got a little bit of time on my hands. So I made a little post on Twitter a little while ago, and I just wanted to discuss uh, Lonzo Ball and a comparison to him of Jason Kidd. And I went to go look at Jason Kidd's numbers overall just to kind of refresh myself because I know he's been out of the league for about 7 years now, but it seems like a long time. So I went to go look and I looked at his career averages and he was averaging 12.6 points, like 8 points, like 5 assists or something like that, and like 6 rebounds. And I'm sitting here to myself like, word. So then I had to go look at the years and stuff, and he had some injuries and things. Obviously, we all know that, but his like high scoring year was like 16, 17 points. That was peaks offensive Jason Kidd, but he hit like 10 assists several years or something like that. Especially in this peak that he was like good for 10 a night. So with that being said, if Lonzo Ball's comp is Jason Kidd, my question then becomes, why are we harping so much on his scoring? Now, for basically just put it out there, because his archetype is the pass first point guard. Magic, I think, averaged 18 and 19 for his career. Uh, John Stockton averaged 14 points a game for his career, if I'm not mistaken. So, pass first point guards aren't these guys that just go out and score ludicrous amounts of points, by, their archetype. That's just not how they're built. These guys take fewer shots than most. They rack up assists, and the best ones give you an all around game. So, with that being said, Lonzo's career average right now is like 10, 6, and 6 or something like that. It may be like 11, 6, and something, whatever. So, the whole point is, why are we trying to measure him up to Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, and Russell Westbrook, and some of these other guys, Kyrie? Now, I get it, his dad made the comparison to him or saying he was going to be better than Steph Curry, but I don't think he necessarily meant like he's going to be like 30, 10, and 10 or some shit like that. I think he was just saying his impact on the game is going to be better than Steph's, which we'll see. But if his comp is Jason Kidd, we shouldn't expect his, because I think if we were going to look at it, I think Steph's effect on the game is greater than Jason's. It could have something to do with the era too, but it is what it is. So my thing is, if we're going to compare Lonzo to Jason Kidd's, Magic Johnson's and stuff, while he needs to improve on his scoring, nobody's saying that, he needs to shoot more efficient, higher percentage, and yada yada yada. He needs to take better shots too. But I don't think we should be grilling him as much about his scoring as we do. If anything, maybe we need to grill him more about his assist numbers, because of those guys I listed, he's got the lowest. And I get it. Lakers, they didn't really have shooters like that. To me, if we're going to harp on anything, he needs to get more out of his assist. Now, there's reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it in this video. But my thing is, we need to dial it back a little bit. Now, we all think or believe he has this insane potential, right? And that's fair. But I don't think I don't think it's fair to Zoe to rate a fish on how well it flies. Basically, what I'm saying is, if he was designed, like if his natural thing was okay, he's supposed to be a scorer. I think that's perfectly fine at that point to grill him on that. But his comp was always Jason Kidd, 12.6 points a game. In his peak years, like 16, 17 points a game. So if we're going to do this or compare these players, we need to be fair. We need to be righteous. And for Lonzo, I think we need to expect more out of him as far as being a floor general. Now, that's not to say, okay, we're changing the narrative, we're changing the goalposts. What I'm simply saying is, why are we going to sit here and say, okay, he needs to get 24 points a game or whatever, or 20 points a game, when he was never designed to be that? You know, Tim Duncan was not designed to be, or Shaq either, was not designed to be a 3 point scorer. That's not who they are. They are different kinds of players. So we don't sit there and say, oh, they're trash because they can't shoot the three. No, we look at what they are, what they're supposed to do, and their responsibilities, and we grade them and assess them as such. Now, they were both outstanding players, and they could give you points and all the other things. But we don't sit there and say, okay, Shaq is supposed to have 12 assists a night. That's just not what he. That's not what he was designed to do. That's not his game. Or we don't say, you know, John Stockton should have had 30 points or 26 points a game. You know, that's not what we do. So I think, and I understand this is the era, fast pace, small ball, yada yada yada. I got it. But Lonzo, if we're gonna say Lonzo needs to improve his scoring, how much are we actually going to say he's supposed to be improving it to? Are we supposed to put him in the Steph Curry range, or are we supposed to put him in like in the Magic, the Jason Kidd range? You know, in between there. That's where this is where this thought is coming from to me, because it's like, me personally, I like to assess the players based off their skill set and their job. So whatever your job is on the team and your skill set, if you do those things well, then that's where I grade you. But if you don't, then now we have questions. For Lonzo, what is his job? His job is to facilitate, push the pace, and knock down the open jumpers. He's always been good, well, and play defense. Basically, he's a stopgap. He fills in the holes of the team too. He's not been the scorer. That's not been his thing. But the main things that was always harped on him is his shooting. His 3 point shooting has increased, and now he has to get a higher percentage at the free throw line and mid range, and he should be able to hit layups. That should just, you can't be an NBA player and not hit layups, so that's fine. But should we expect him to jump to 20, 22, 24 points a game? No. If all Lonzo does is give you 15, 16 points a game, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Like I said, if anything, we need to harp on the assist numbers, because 6, 7 assists for a point guard is not bad, but Jokic can go get you six and he's a center. LeBron, I think career average is like 8 assists, and he's not even a point guard. So I think at minimum, we need to start expecting Zoe to get 8, 9 assists a game. I think he should be able to do that. That's, if anything, where I would say his biggest underperformance is. But to the point, he's mainly asked to knock down threes, push the pace, play defense, and just basically help out and fill in the roles. With that, is that what you would define as a scorer? I don't think so. So I think if we're going to assess Lonzo, we have to do this properly. And it's not just Lonzo; it's any player. It's any player. If you're going to say that their job is one thing, we can't assess them for a job we want them to perform or we think they should perform. If the job that the coach and the team has decided for this player is to do X, Y, Z, that's that player's job. If it's that player's skill set to do X, Y, Z, that's that player's job too. But, and this goes back, I think, to the Luke Walton's of the world of stuff. If your player has one skill set and you're trying to make them do something that's outside of their skill set, I think that's a problem. As a coach, you have to bring out the best in your players, and I think in order to do that, you need to build a system that benefits them. I made a video not too long ago talking about Gentry making a system to where every player needed to benefit off of it. So if we're going to say, okay, Lonzo needs to take a jump, I think what should be expected of Lonzo next season, thinking about Jason Kidd, which is his comp, 14, 9, and 7. I think that's where he should be next season for it to be a success. And I think with the increased, scoring, percentages, I think 14 is right where he should be. That should that should be right on schedule, I think, with who Kidd is. Oh, another thing. Kidd came into the league at 21. 21. Lonzo came in at 19. So we were comparing, a lot of times we were comparing Ricky Zoe and Ricky Kidd. Ricky Zoe, he wasn't like, okay, so I put it like this. I'll do it this way. So people always compare LeBron and Jordan, and they say LeBron is in year 17. Me, it's kind of like, okay, where were you at and what were you doing at that age? Because year 17, Jordan never had a year 17, so there's nothing to compare to. But he had a year when he was 35 years old and he played. So what were you doing at that time frame? So essentially, his first two seasons was like sophomore, junior year in college. Um, this year was basically his rookie season in terms of his comparison of what I would say to Jason Kidd, and their numbers are pretty similar. Um, but I think like I said, I think when we look at Jason Kidd as the comp and we follow his career, his experience, when he came in, he was far more experienced than Zoe was, so his understanding of the game was greater. And I think if Lonzo had came into the league this year as a rookie, he would be looked at vastly different than he is today. In particular, with his shot and everything, he would have had what they would call him a successful rookie season. Granted, some players have come out like KD said, a 10-7-7 is a successful rookie season. But I believe personally that the progression for Lonzo has to be a steady one. And I don't think you're going to get consistent 22 points again. I don't think that's going to be him ever. I think at peak he can give you 17, 18 a game, which is just fine. That's all you really need from him. Because he's going to play on teams where he's not going to be the primary scoring option anyway. Like I said, his toolkit, Lonzo has a unique toolkit, like especially for a point guard. Let me set my phone up. So, especially for a point guard, Lonzo typically, your point guards are usually on the smaller side, 6 feet, 6'3", maybe 6'4". You rarely get like a 6'6" point guard. That's like shooting guard, small forward range, right? And he's got the length. So when we factor in that plus his actual toolbox, solid rebounder, great for his position, passer, very good, especially long range, very accurate. Um, he is elite as far as passes are in the league in my eyes. 3-point shooting, around average, league average, slightly above average. Uh, you know, defense, could guard. He's one of the few point guards that can match up on the forwards and not be like killed. So, for instance, if you get like I'm trying to think of someone, Paul George. Lonzo can guard Paul George, and he's not one of the ones like, oh crap, like okay, for instance, if you put Kemba Walker on Paul George, it's free lunch. It's good game. There's nothing he can do about it. You could put Lonzo on Paul George, and he could hold his own, and he could even bother Paul George. So he's got a unique toolbox. Him and Ben Simmons both, and LaMelo will too if he actually applies himself defensively. When you're that tall at the point guard position, normally you would need help, in certain situations. But he's one of those ones that completely negates that help. He don't really need it up to a certain extent. Now he guarding power forward centers. He can hold his own a little bit, but he's still gonna get beat. But couple all of that, the IQ, the feel for the game, the intangibles. He's got a very unique toolbox that very few players in the league actually has. It's just his peaks. I really don't think his peaks on it are going to be as high as people want it to be. The scoring peak, I don't think is going to be in the 30s or the upper 20s or anything like that. The assist, I think he's going to be a career, especially at his peak, around 9, 8, upper 8, 9 a game. Rebounding, I don't I don't see a future where Zoe is getting like 8 a game, like consistently through a long stretch, like years. I think 6 or 7 is what we should expect. Now, defensively, and it's funny, I've always said I wouldn't have personally compared him to Jason Kidd, even though I see it. I would have said he's a hybrid of Steve Nash and Gary Payton. He's got some of the best. He's got the best attributes of both to some degree, but he doesn't have the peak of both. So he has the ability to shoot. He has the craftiness with the passing. He has the defensive IQ. He understands the game, the feel of the game. You put those together, and let's just say if they both were tens on a scale of 1 to 10, he's probably eights for both of them. So when it comes to Zoe, I really think his skill set, like I said, he's just going to be like a toolbox. He's going to have whatever you need for the most part, and he's going to fill in those holes for your team whenever they're necessary, whatever it is for the night. But based on his skill set, he's really supposed to play next to two better players in terms of offensive capability because he will get the most out of them, and he needs to have shooters. He kind of got that right now with Zion and Bi, and now you got JJ Redick. What I would like to see is for them to get another shooter. Josh Hart is good, but Josh Hart needs to get in that 40 percentile with them threes. I think will really help this team. But if you want to see peak Joe, you're gonna have to look at the parts around him. And I think the parts around him is gonna dictate his career more than anything else. Because you give him trash, he's gonna shine. Like we saw a couple games where he didn't have any of the other starters, and he looked like he can go get you 30 a game. But it was the effect he had on Etwan Moore, Jaleel Okafor, some of these Jackson Hayes, some of these other guys. That's where his value is, and I think we have to look a lot less at what we think he should be in terms of what modern day point guards are, which are scores, and more of what he actually is. And that's just a pass first, facilitating all the skills in the toolbox point guard.